Sup internet, and welcome to my review of Far Cry 6. So, what can I really say about Far Cry 6 is it is honestly just more Far Cry. More Far Cry with a fresh coat of paint and some steps in the positive direction and a couple steps back in my humble opinion. Quick note before we get further into the review is that I have actually only played two Far Cry games before this, Far Cry 5 and Far Cry New Dawn. I did watch my wife play a little bit of Far Cry 4. I didn't watch her play the whole thing. I didn't actually play it myself, but to be honest, it looked like, more Far Cry, just a different setting, different story, setup, and all that kind of thing. But with that being said, we can actually get into the review itself. So, your character starts out just trying to escape Yara, the fictional country that this is set in, and trying to get away from the oppressive government. But through a series of, coincidental events, she finds herself, and he or she finds themselves in the middle of a revolution. This really brings me to the first point that I would like to make about this game. One of the positive steps that it has is the person behind the gun, the avatar that you are controlling, whatever you want to call it. They actually have personality. They have fully voiced dialogues and all that kind of thing. You can choose whether it is a man or a woman, and it is just a fully fleshed out character. They talk back. They are sarcastic, they are doubtful of their actions at times, and all these emotions are behind these characters instead of just a faceless person that all the characters in the world just talk at. You actually get to interact with the world. You don't get to choose your dialogue options, but at least there's someone talking back to the other NPCs in the game. So that's kind of nice. They have cutscenes. They have, as I mentioned, just all the emotions and the feel behind the avatar that you were controlling. Aside from that, as you can imagine, I played on PS5, so the graphics are very pretty, just a beautiful setting for this game, and it was a pleasure to look at, as you can see on your screen. Now, as I mentioned, this is really just more Far Cry, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. In my opinion, I think it leans more towards good than bad. There are all the staples of the usual Far Cry experience, so weapons, full customization of those weapons, at least in Far Cry 5 and New Dawn. There are checkpoints to clear and bases to clear, and the usual collectathon that we can expect from most Ubisoft games in the current Ubisoft model. This may or may not actually appeal to you, but it is what it is, and like I mentioned, it is just more Far Cry. One thing that I am not entirely sure if it is a step back or a step forward, I'm kind of still leaning on the fence even though I have played the entire game at this point, is the removal of the skill tree. Now, at least in the previous Far Cry games that I have played, they had a skill tree, and I saw in Far Cry 4, my wife had a skill tree that she would be able to invest points into. Now, the perks that would seem to be normally in a skill tree are actually in the clothes that you wear. So with the different clothes that you can collect throughout the world, they can increase stamina, they can increase damage resistances, poison resistances, just kind of anything like that. The ability to hold more ammo depending on which outfit you have on. So I don't know if it's a good thing. There were points throughout the entire playthrough where I thought, yeah, this is fine, this is good. I don't have to level up or try to save points for a specific perk. Now I just have to find the clothing and I can just equip it, no issues there. But on the flip side of that, it is just that. You have to find the clothing instead of racking up points and saving up points for the perk or the passive ability that you are looking for, you have to actually find it, which could just kind of be a crapshoot. So I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm still not sure how to feel about that part of it specifically, but there were times that I was missing the skill tree, and there were other times that I was like, okay, this is fine. I see what they're going for here. Now, there are some things that really just kind of bugged me about the game. And maybe this is coming from a place of ignorance, but I feel as though sometimes the AI of the enemy NPCs were, well, actually all NPCs was really just kind of terrible. Enemy NPCs either wouldn't see you until you're literally on top of them, or they would see you through random walls or anything or something like that. Your allied NPCs, whom would fight alongside you, they cannot fend for themselves at all. Like, if you were not there, they would all be dead. It is just a firefight between the two factions, and everyone is going to be dead at some point unless you come in and save them. You cannot rely on them at all to have your back or to assist you in taking down a base or a group of enemies or anything that you come across. The last thing that really kind of bothered me is, for a while there are pesos to collect in the world, the currency of this fictional country. And there are a couple of places where you could spend those pesos, whether it was a map of like fishing locations, hunting locations, all that kind of stuff. And at one point you could even buy the weapons that you haven't found yet, or even the armor that you haven't found yet, which was cool. It's like, okay, you could either find them in the world, or you can pay pesos and you have to save up and all that kind of thing. Cool, that works. But then they pushed a patch for the game, and then all of the weapons and the armor that you could buy just kind of disappeared. And at that point in the game, I had bought all of the maps and everything, so I was saving up for the guns I didn't have, but then all that just disappeared and kind of rendered all of it useless. And at that point, I couldn't find anything else to actually spend pesos on. And then from there, they also inserted the kind of usual Ubisoft microtransactions, which have also become a staple, where it's like you don't actually need to participate in the microtransactions to get this extra stuff, but it would be a grind to be able to afford the unique currency to buy these special armors, special weapons, all that kind of thing. Overall, this is a decent Far Cry game that really doesn't change the formula of what makes a Far Cry game a Far Cry game. While some changes I disliked, there were other changes that I did like, as I mentioned. So honestly, it is overall an enjoyable experience, something pretty to look at, and I can wholeheartedly recommend it if you like Far Cry games. If you don't, this isn't going to change your mind. But if this is the first one that you've ever played, this is a decent place to jump in and start playing Far Cry, and then go back and play all the other Far Cry games if you really feel so compelled. But let me know down in the comments if you have any thoughts, questions, anything like that. I would love to hear from you down there. Even if I just had a terrible take and you want to call me out on it, feel free to do that as well. Remember to hit that like button. It would really help me out. It would help my channel grow. And if you like this video enough, I would consider subscribing, because I would love to have you as part of the channel. Love to start growing my channel here and there. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.